Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Networking Mondays. We're very glad you're with us. It's April 19th, 2021. For those people on Zoom, as soon as you come up with a question or you think of something, just put it right in the chat box. And for those people watching on Facebook this afternoon, please just send your comments into the comment field. I am monitoring that feed, and I will make sure we get those questions answered. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you post a comment in the chat box or you have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comments, name, and picture to appear. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I founded Career DFW to help the unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I started CareerUSA.org in 2012 to help people outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search that you may not know, and it's available on Amazon. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007. I'll tell you about our upcoming program this Friday at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. Well, when I came up with this Networking Monday thing, I said, well, who do I know who can talk about networking? And all of a sudden, all these names just started popping up in my head. And so we're now on the second row. We're on the bottom row of speakers this week. So you've missed the top row, but the bottom row is now going to be speaking coming up here. So today, our speaker is Jack Bick. He's written 2 books, The Champion Way and Be Mission Critical. Jack also for a long time ran the career networking meeting on Wednesday morning up at St. Anne's Parish up in Allen. So today he's going to talk about power networking, how to create a network in 5 days. So Jack, thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here. So networking is a very important part of the job search, but actually I've got another word for networking, and it's called life. I don't know how you get along without networking in today's day and age. So I'll give you some ideas. I've had 9 jobs in my life, and every one of them has ended, obviously, in one fashion or another, across the board, from firing to downsizing to the company being sold by somebody else. Sometimes I was the person who sold the company. But the constant in the whole thing was the fact that my next job I would achieve another job immediately because of networking. And I think it's very important for us to realize that networking is a lifetime event. It's not an event, it's a process. And that process puts you in touch with other people who can help you and who you can help. And as a matter of fact, that's the first thing. You have to help the other person first. So I have a sign in my office here that says, to the world, you may be one person. To one person, you may be the world. So reaching out to other people and with an idea that you are going to help them, and eventually that might be returned to you by them helping you. So my definition of networking is a long-term win-win business relationship. Now let's examine that. Obviously, when you start a relationship with somebody, especially a business relationship, you don't know how long that's going to last. But if your mindset is that this is going to be for the long term, that this is somebody who can help who I can help and who can help me for the long term. It's got to be a win-win situation where they achieve something they want and you achieve something you want. And that way both people win. And it's a business relationship. You're not necessarily going to get a Christmas card or get an invitation to Thanksgiving dinner, but who cares? As long as you can help each other and move your career forward and you can move their career forward, why, that's a very good situation. So most of this is taken from my new book, The Champion Way. It's been out about several months now, but I still call it new. I think I can do that for a year and still count it as new. And by that time, I'll bring out The Champion Way 2.0. And then I can call that new. So just some general networking tips. As I've mentioned already, show your interest in the other person first. That is so important to establishing a relationship that's going to work out for both of you. Build it long-term or with the idea that it's going to be long-term. Always be adding to your network. My network on LinkedIn is a little over 4,000 people. And whenever I want to accomplish something, I reach in there and find people. And I may not have a direct relationship with them, but I can develop that in no time at all. So I'll always make sure that it's mutually beneficial. In most situations, when you're in a public situation, and hopefully we're going to get back to that situation pretty soon. I'm Wednesday night at 5:30. I'm going to Aloft over in Frisco, and that's an open networking situation. I haven't been there for a while because it hasn't been operating for a while, but it's open now for face-to-face, and I never fail to find somebody that I can build a networking relationship with when I go to this event. There's one I missed last week because we had some people in from out of town, but it's named after Dave Peters, who is deceased, but we continue his legacy. He was one of the best networkers I ever met, and he was always helping somebody else. And so when he was in the insurance business, and when you thought of insurance and had a need, you would think of Dave Peters. So we're opening up more now, and we can go to events and meet people. If you're going to an event like that, the first thing to remember is that there are some key positions where you can meet people. One is at the sign-in desk. The other is near the food or near the bar. And that's where you can meet the most people and then determine who's going to be long-term and who's not. When I go to an event like that, I'm only looking for one or two people to start a new relationship with. If there's 50 people there, I can't start 50 relationships. So I'm looking for the two people that I can really get to know. In fact, on Wednesday, when I go, I'm going to find the person who organizes the event, and ask them and tell them what I'm about. First of all, I'm going to find out what they do. They don't make any money off of starting these or sponsoring these events, but what do they do for a living? And then I tell them what I do and ask them, will you introduce me to 2 people you think I can benefit from? And that way it streamlines my situation. I don't have to meet 50 people to find the 2 that I want a relationship with. I ask the organizer, or I look around the room and try to determine who the alphas are. Who are the most important people there? And you can pretty well tell that by body language. If there's a group, you can tell who the alpha is in that group, and make sure that you start a conversation with that person. So those are a couple of general tips. But today we're here to talk about power networking. How can you start a network in 5 days? And let me tell you how this developed. This worked in real time. Several years ago, I was given the opportunity to, I lived in St. Louis, and my boss wanted me to start a newspaper in Pittsburgh. He didn't want me to move there. He just wanted me to go there and get it started and hire people and get it going. And as it turns out, for a decade, that's what I did. Every year I'd go to a new city and start a newspaper, and or do a turnaround of a newspaper. So in those days, we didn't have LinkedIn, we didn't have Google, we didn't have the kinds of resources that we have today. But this system works just as well with the aid of LinkedIn, truthfully. So in those days, before we had computers on every desk, and I wanted to find out, some of the businesses in Pittsburgh, I had to go to the Central Library. In those days, there was a big room, and you had yellow pages and white pages from every major newspaper at the Central Library. I still couldn't find some people that I knew that if I was going to start a newspaper in Pittsburgh, I was going to have to get to know some people there. So the first thing I did was look for newspapers. And I found that they had a group of suburban newspapers. And I called the publisher, told him that I'd ask him some questions about his operation there related to him, because that's what I used to do before I started business journals. And we had a connection then. So I told him that I was interested in finding out about Pittsburgh, and I asked if we could have breakfast in a week when I was going to be in Pittsburgh, and he said yes. But before I hung up, I asked him, can you give me the names of 2 more people that I can talk to about Pittsburgh? Now, in reality, I was trying to find people that I could hire for the newspaper I was going to start. But if I told them I was interested in hiring people, they wouldn't want to talk to me, because they don't want me to hire their people away. So I needed that connection of having been in the suburban newspaper business in order to make a connection to that first person. But from then on, in order to make a connection with the person that I called, All I had to do was say, well, Joe over at the suburban newspapers told me to call you. And that would be my connection to get in to talk to people. I would talk to them about what they did, how they interacted in Pittsburgh. Got all kinds of information about the city so that I could treat the city as an individual place. And I would then ask if we could meet and then follow up on that and ask for 2 more people. So within a week, I had called over 90 people. I had made connections to over 50 of those. And I had 20 appointments by the end of the week. So the next week when I flew into Pittsburgh, I had 20 appointments. Now, if you're selling, that's great. And I really was selling because I wanted people to know that we were coming into town. And as a matter of fact, that Wednesday, I was at the press club having lunch with one of the people I had talked to. And he said, oh, I want you to meet somebody. And he called this guy over to our table. And he said, hey, I want you to meet Jack Bick. He's here. He's going to start the new Pittsburgh Business Times. And the guy said, I've heard about you. So what happens here is that you create your own buzz. And you can use this either in an industry or a geographic area, or what I think is the best is networking into a company. If you've got a target company that you want to get into, go to LinkedIn, find some people that you can talk to, that you can make a connection to, so that you can open a conversation and have something where you can say, here's something that we have in common, or here's a connection, here's an activity that we both did, or we both work for some company, whatever it happens to be. And that way you can open up a conversation centered on them, and eventually it'll get around to you. And then you make your request that they help you network. And you can use this to find who is the hiring manager in the department that you're interested in. A lot of my clients have used this very effectively. You can do this. Let's say that you are looking at LinkedIn or some other source for job postings. Before you take the time to go into the ATS, go into LinkedIn and find people who work for that company and network your way in. That's a lot more effective than sending your resume to an ATS. Network your way to find that hiring manager and make those people champions for you. That's the whole idea behind my book, The Champion Way. The book shows you how to differentiate yourself all along the way, because it's my idea, it's been proven over and over and over again, that unless you're one of the top 3 candidates, you're not going to get that job. You are a qualifier, qualifying who the best people are, and they rank them. And the top 3 are going to be the ones who get that job. It's almost impossible for you to go from a position further down and catapult yourself past everybody else. is very difficult to do. So one of my clients used this process to network their way into Texas Health Resources. Within a week, she was able to have a lunch appointment with the president of Texas Health Resources. And he started feeding her job opportunities within Texas Health Resources before they were ever posted, because she impressed him. She actually was in the hospital administrator in Detroit. And one of the jobs he told her about was not just with THC, Texas Health Resources, but in Washington, D.C. And today she's the #2 person at Howard University hospitals. A very high paying, very high profile job. So she used it to network within a week to right to the top of that organization. Now, you don't have to go all the way to the top, but you can find the hiring manager if you network your way through. And it's my contention that just like you can't be too thin, you can't be too rich, well, you can't have too many champions. Get as many champions as you can to help you network into a target company. So there's many ways that you can use your time that all fit into networking. And here's basically, I went back and looked at how I divided my time in networking. And let's say that you say you're going to devote 30% of your time to networking. I would, within that 30% of your time, I would give 20% to industry events. If you're in accounting, find accountants, find events that accountants go to. Also, business events like Rotary and the Chamber, that's another 20%. Reverse interviews, great opportunities for you to make sure that people in your industry know who you are. And that's another 20%. Then self-improvement, reading, classes, whatever you can do to improve yourself. Take at least 10% of your networking time to do that. Volunteering, 10%. Employment and self-help groups, 10%. And what I call chance encounters, just people that you can meet anywhere, after church, in a line at Kroger, or wherever you happen to be, wherever you are, network with people around you. You never know who can help you. So I think it's very important to find out from people, what they're all about, and put them in your networking list. And LinkedIn is a prime place to make sure everybody that you meet, you should connect to and link down. And that gives you much further reach, and it gives you an opportunity to let people know that you want to invest your skills and experience with a new company. Don't tell people that you're looking for a job. that's pretty mundane, and they might run the other way. But if they know that you're looking to invest your skills and experience with a new company, that's a whole different mindset, because it assumes that you have skills and experience that are superior to other people. So, are there any questions?
Nobody's put anything in the chat box for questions yet. If anybody has a question, please unmute your mic and ask away. I guess not.
So let me ask, does this sound like something that would be advantageous for you to do?
Henry does ask a question. He says there, how do you follow up with those who say they will connect you with somebody, but they don't?
Well, the way to do that, now that's a great question. I really love that. You never allow the link to go dormant. So if you make if you talk to somebody and you ask them, can you give me two prospects that I could talk to? Then you say, can I check back with you on Friday? And be specific. Can I check back with you Friday at 10 o'clock? Making an appointment. And that way they know that you're serious about getting those connections. And they know that you will be looking for connections for them. So you never allow the connection to die or to go dormant. They know when you're going to connect the next time. And by doing that, you pretty much ensure that you're going to get a response. Did that answer your question?
Let's see. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, somebody says that they get ghosted. Well, this way, when you talk to them and you connect to the next time you're going to talk to them, you'll see that you don't get ghosted when that happens.
All right, so the next question here is, can you provide some advice on how to best reach out to people in LinkedIn and nurture those networking, and how to nurture those networking relationships? I haven't been able to crack the code. As it just seems the engagement fades away over time.
Well, it's important for you to keep that engagement going. And like I said, one way is to always be focused on them first. If you're always focused on yourself, then they're going to wear out. But if you are focused on them and always talk about them and say, and be interested in what they're doing and help them. If you're asking for connections, give them connections. Once you know what they're looking for, go into your LinkedIn and see if somebody your links can help them. And always connect to the next time you're going to talk to them or be in touch with them, whether it's verbal or written.
Jason asked, when connecting with the referral for the first time, is if it is somebody that works for a target company, do you mention that you're in job search, or just that they're a target company, or just leave it at a connection request?
I would be as specific as possible, but don't say that you're looking for a job. Say you want to invest your skills and experience. and give them an example. Take an R from your star stories and say, you know, that I'm looking to invest my skills and experience. By the way, at my last job, I saved them $25,000 on a yearly basis. And over time, that's gonna add up to a lot of money that I saved them. If you don't give them a generalization, give them a specific account of something that you've done. And that will encourage them because they've got something real to talk about.
All right. Mindy asked, when searching for the right connection within a company, what's the best way to connect with them? Request a connection, send a note through LinkedIn, try to locate an email. What do you recommend?
Well, I think there's two answers to that. Number one is, what are you comfortable with? If you're comfortable, I'm very comfortable making a phone call, but I know that, you know, some generations don't like that. They want to send an email, and that's fine too, because if that's what you are comfortable with, you'll do the best job with it. On the other hand, you got to think about the receiver. Who's receiving this? If you're trying to connect to somebody who is older than you are, then think in terms of that being a phone call. Even though you may not be as comfortable with it, they're gonna feel better about it, because that's the way they're used to connecting. So, you know, I think that you have to think of those types of things, and generational situations are much greater. There's a new book out called Ties and T-Shirts, and it's a short book. It's a little over 100 pages, but it's just packed full of information on how to communicate intergenerationally.
Okay. Let's see here. What's the best way to find out what industry networking groups and opportunities there are near you, especially during COVID?
The best way to do that is pick out who are the leaders in that industry and call them up and just ask them, where do you go? You know, it's been difficult because of COVID, but not impossible. And that's the thing that if there's always going to be disruptions. You know, we're in a disruptive situation, you know, society these days. And so when things are good, build your network, especially through LinkedIn, and they'll be there when opportunities constrict. And so, and you can keep the connection with LinkedIn by posting different things, by blogging, things of that nature.
Okay, Henry asked, how do you link other people to each other on LinkedIn? I'll sort of take that for a second. You can't, there's no magic button on LinkedIn to allow you to here's subject A, here's subject B, automatically connect them. What you need to do is you need to send a message to your two connections. And so the three of you are together saying, you know, Joe, I recommend you talk to Jim. Jim, you know, here's Joe. I've known him for a long time. I think y'all would make a great connection. And then let them sort of carry it on. So there's no magic button on LinkedIn to be able to connect to people except via a message. And it'd be the same if you can get it offline via 2 email addresses, even better. Let's see here. Robin says, I've already reached out to someone on LinkedIn and made the mistake of telling them I'm looking for a position and asked for an information interview, but didn't hear back. Is it too late to try to connect again and tell them I'm looking to invest my skills and experience?
Yes, and the way to do that is to To me, the communication is a process. I call it the communication formula. It's called AIR, A-I-R. Number one, attention. Make a connection. And make it about them first. So you don't start off by saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a job." You say, "Well, I noticed that you like to play tennis and I like to play tennis myself," or something that you can use to connect to that person. Or you use something about their company, the research that you've done on on the company, and you say, "Well, I noticed that you had a big article in the Dallas Business Journal," and use that as a connector. Then that's the A, attention. Information is the I. You want to give them information about yourself. You say that you want to connect to them because you want to invest your time, your skills and experience, and then give them an R, a result from your star stories. If I were trying to connect to somebody to be a publisher again, I would say, I want to use my skills and experience for a dynamic new company. By the way, when I was publisher of the Dallas Business Journal, I had a $1.2 million turnaround on the bottom line in less than 2 years. That's going to make them want to talk to you. And then you make your request. Can we meet for 15 minutes to discuss the current situation in the industry? Because you're one of the leaders. And then you say, "I will call you back on Wednesday if I haven't heard from you," and give them a specific time. And then you say, "Well, I'll call you at 10 o'clock on Wednesday, or you can return my call at your convenience." And if you do those simple things, you're going to get can you still get ghosted? Yes, but it'll be a minimum. It won't be the rule, it'll be the exception.
Jason says on an initial LinkedIn connection request, don't you want to try to keep it short as possible and not scare them to even connect? You indicate be specific as possible, but isn't that more for if you have a 20-minute meeting with them?
You want to give them just a taste so that they're curious about wanting to talk to you. And yes, you want to keep it brief, no more than 6 lines.
Okay. Bill says, regarding staying connected to others on LinkedIn, how do you recommend to keep the conversation going with so many different people and all different backgrounds?
I think that you just want to keep them informed about what you're doing and make sure that it's of interest to them, give them enough detail, and but your idea is to keep them curious, and they'll want to bounce it back and say, I was interested in what you did, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. On Facebook, Joanna asked, what if you truly don't have any achievements or metrics?
Can you say that again? You don't have any achievements or what?
What if you don't have any achievements or metrics to be able to, share, I guess, in that initial connection?
That's hard to answer in general, but if you ask yourself the right questions, you will come up with specifics. I understand that a lot of people's jobs are part of a process. And let's say there's a 5-step process and you're step number 3, and you never get to see the end result. Well, from now on, find out what happens to your work as it progresses, and find out how that makes money or saves money for a company. Every job has to make money or save money, or else it's not going to be there very long. So find out what that is, and that'll help you with the metrics. But maybe if you're in a technical situation, you can say, I can't give you metrics because it's proprietary information, but here's the end result, and the company is doing well, and just generally you can tie yourself to the success of the company.
Okay. What are your thoughts on when you're making those connection requests, attaching your resume?
I would try to meet with somebody before you send them a resume, because that's an overt action, and you want to make sure that they're committed to being a champion for you, and then make sure that they have all the information. But more than likely, they're going to go to LinkedIn, and your LinkedIn should have, that's where everything you want people to know about your career, that's where it should be.
What do you think of the one-page bio?
I like one-page bios as opposed to a resume. It's not as overt, it's informative, and you can keep it a little more lighthearted, more personal than a resume. You put your personality into it. The biggest thing I see when I'm looking at people's materials, whether it's a bio or an infographic resume or a regular resume, is that it's all hard skills. There's no soft skills in it. And let me tell you something, most jobs are gotten because of soft skills. They know what you do, they know your activities, but how do you actually make those things happen? What are the attributes inside of you, that the soft skills? Is it communication skills? Is it people skills? Is it attention to detail, et cetera, et cetera? Sure, you have to have technical skills these days for almost everything. But how do you put that together? How do you engage your work? And that's usually soft skills.
Okay. That's all the questions so far that have popped up in the chat box. Does anybody else have any questions? For me, I think the most important thing you've said is that when you have that information interview with somebody, or that first initial talk, is at the end of it, who else do you recommend I talk to? If you can get a couple more names, that's how you just build your whole, it's how you build your network.
Exactly.
It's an easy way to do it.
I just had somebody that they weren't a client of mine, but I knew him through church, and he was applying to a job, and I said, well, you've already applied, so you're already in their ATS. Start networking, and within a couple of days, he found somebody who did actually recommend him, and got his resume into the hiring manager, and he ended up getting that job.
Right. And I know one of the jobs I took when I was leaving Louisville, Kentucky, and I took a job in Rochester, New York, is that I actually found a job, and it was my 7th connection. So person A, I was talking to person B, B said, who else do you recommend I talk to? Got the C, got the D, got the E. So 7 connections is where I actually landed a job at. So that definitely is the way to go. Just, pick up the phone and talk to people. Wonderful.
Well, when I was in journalism school, they actually taught us how to do that. And the example they used was, you are no more than 6 people away from anybody in the world. And the exercise we had to do was, how would we get to the Pope? Figuring he was the most insulated person in the world. And interestingly enough, my cousin was very wealthy, and he was getting married, and he wanted to get married at the Vatican, and the person who performed the wedding eventually became Pope. So I could get to the Pope in 3 people.
Okay. Daniel asks, this is a good question. Any specific networking advice for someone early in their career or changing industries? I don't usually know how to make it a two-way street when networking without having business experience in their particular industry.
Well, research is very important. When you want to talk to somebody, research their company. Find out what makes that company tick. And that way you can connect to that person and say, here's what I found out about your company. How do you fit into that? What do you do at that company? And when you have information about the company or the person ahead of time, they're going to be impressed by the fact that you took the time to find that out. And it gives you subjects that you can talk about to really create a longer conversation.
All right. Jack, why don't you tell us a little bit about, I know you said you've mentioned 2 different books that you've done. You want to talk a little bit about your 2 books?
Well, I'd love to. The Champion Way is the latest one, and basically it's an update of Be Mission Critical. Be Mission Critical is kind of what you should do and how you should do it. The Champion Way goes a little bit further, and it's all in chronological format. So it's when to do it and why to do it. The idea is to make your search as personal as possible.
Well, great. And I know those books are available on Amazon, and then they can get hold of you too, right? Didn't get them?
Yes, my contact information is in chat. If you want to talk directly to me, and if you buy the book through me, why, I can get it to you just as quick as Amazon, and I will autograph it and personalize it.
Jim asked, what are the details on Aloft, the meeting in Frisco, the networking meeting?
Okay, it's an open networking meeting, and it's at 5:30 on Wednesday. And
is it in 2 nights, 2 days from today?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, 2 days from today.
Coming up. Okay, very good. So on the 21st.
If you go, you know what I look like, and just come up to me and mention that you heard me talking here, and that'll give us something to start a conversation.
Great. All right. And if you want to connect with Jack on LinkedIn, here is his LinkedIn profile. If you send, please send him a message, and always send that personal note whenever you connect with somebody. Personally, I don't connect with anybody if they don't send me a personal note. So, just
Correct.
as an FYI.
I don't either.
Okay. So always send that personal note. Just tell them that you met them right here. There's no place to sign up for the meeting on Wednesday night. You just show up. It's at Aloft this Wednesday night at 5:30.
Right.
All right. Next week, our speaker will be Tom Jackson. He's a cybersecurity leader, director, and VP. He'll be talking about networking, just on his process and how he networks. We're putting on training 5 days a week right now. So, join us every day of the week. Tomorrow on Tuesday, a very interesting presentation by Kurt Vondermatter. He's a retained recruiter. He pays LinkedIn around $10,000 to $15,000 a year for the full-blown recruiting package. And he's going to talk about LinkedIn from a recruiter's eye. He's trying to find you and what he looks for when he tries to find you. So very interesting presentation. You'll really enjoy it. It'll be really great tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, our special during the month of April, we've got special guest speakers. The 13-part workshop will start up again in May. But our speaker this Wednesday is Paul Walsh. He's going to talk about how to survive behavioral interviewing, or how to survive behavioral interviews. Thursday, we'll have resume tips and tricks. And then this Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting at 9:30 in the morning, life lessons with Steve Zipkoff. If you've never heard Steve, he's been fired, hired, right-sized, downsized, let go. I mean, he's had it all. He invented the dollar menu and got fired 3 months later because of it. So just think about that, you know, just what he's done and what he got fired over is just unbelievable. So come join us, Life Lessons with Steve Zipkoff this Friday at 9:30.
Steve's a great guy, and he's funny.
Yeah, very funny. In fact, he has a couple lines that I use all the time, you know, just through in life, because I just like what he talks about. If you're not part of the Career DFW and Career USA LinkedIn groups, please, you can go join either, join both. We've got over 13,000 members in the Career DFW LinkedIn group, so it's a great way to expand your connections. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel later this afternoon. Please check each page. Please follow us on Facebook. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way, every time we post a new video, you'll find out all about it. On the YouTube channel, it looks something like this. It is the Career USA YouTube channel. Click on playlist where you see the green arrow, and then don't click on the video down below, but find the subject you're looking for, and where you see the red arrow, click on view full playlist. And what will happen is up will come a list of all the different speaker names and their titles of the talks, and you can go back and watch any of them that you're interested in. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, please join the Career USA mailing list. I put out 7 emails a week. You will not be spammed. They only come from me. I'm the only one who can originate them. And if you'd like to get one every day, we'll put out the Zoom link in the morning, along with the title of the talk that day, along with the career tip of the week. Career USA + subscribe at groups.io. I'll put that email address up here at the very end. Please note, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Jack's a volunteer. I'm a volunteer. We have no full or part-time employees. I've never gotten paid to do any of this over the last 12 and a half years. We're just here to help you land your next great opportunity. Career DFW, we survive on donations. Please consider making a donation when you get your next job. So thank you very much for joining us today. Have a great week. Hopefully we'll see you later in the week. And if you want to join that mailing list, there's that email address. Jack, thank you very much.
Thank you for asking me, and I hope